Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be ranking Red's discography, and Red has been one of my favorite bands and definitely my favorite hard rock band for a couple years now. Now that they have 6 albums, I thought, I really should do the ranked video since Gone just came out. Gone really did grow on me, and so now I thought, it'd be a good idea to rank their albums. And this honestly has probably been the hardest out of all the ranked videos I've done. I actually haven't done that many, I've only done like 2. So many of Red's albums are great in their own way. It's hard because a lot of them are almost equal in my book, So I don't really prefer a lot of the albums way over the others. So like, my number 3 and 4 pick are really close, and my number 4 and 5 pick are really close, and so on and so forth. So just keep that in mind too, that the majority of their albums I think are really good. I think Red's really good at just releasing good quality full-length albums. And now we're gonna move on to my number 6 pick. At number 6 is Release the Panic, and this is kind of inevitable. A lot of people would rank Release the Panic as their least favorite or the worst Red album because they worked with Howard Benson on their 4th release, and it really shows that Rob wasn't working with them. Because they went with a different producer, it sounds nothing like Red for the most part. This album was a huge departure from their signature sound, and the major electropop influences, the overly simplistic lyrical content, and the lack of normal Red orchestration made this album one that the fans didn't really receive all that well compared to a lot of their other releases. I almost never really come back to this album. The only tracks I really come back to are like Perfect Life and If We Only and the title track, and that's pretty much it, to be honest. Not to crap on Howard Benson or anything. He used to work on really, really great rock albums like Flyleaf, self-titled, but Howard Benson is really known in the industry for turning very good hard rock bands into watered-down pop rock within the last 5 to 10 years, and that's exactly what happened with this release. And it seems like they tried so hard to make this album like experimental when really it kind of seemed dumbed down for them. There just is no passion or soul here. There's no emotion in most of the tracks. At number 5 is Gone, their new release. Before all the fans come in trying to kill me for ranking Gone down this low, here's a disclaimer, okay guys? Gone destroys Release the Panic in like every way possible, every aspect. Gone did what Release the Panic failed to do. But here's the thing, even though Gone is one of my least favorites, to be honest, it's still amazing, and it's grown on me a lot since my review even. And even when I did my review, Gone had grown on me a lot. Gone is a brilliant album. I will go as far as to say that. They achieved exactly what they wanted, which was kind of a different album. And, a lot of people are saying this might be Red's last album because it's their last with Essential Records, and the band themselves have openly discussed this possibly being the end of the band. I don't think Red's gonna stop, but this is the last studio album. I mean, it's interesting when you look at it like that, and a lot of the lyrics fit that theme. I mean, just the title, Gone, A lot of the songs seem kind of apocalyptic. One thing that Gone achieved was a somewhat good mix of all their past releases. They really did use a lot of electronic and pop influences on here, but it's pretty subtle compared to Release the Panic, and they don't lose their rock sound. Also, it has my favorite Red ballad at the moment, The Mask Slips Away. What kept this record being down at number 5 was really the writing. It's significantly more simplistic than Of Beauty and Rage. With that being said, let's move on to my number 4 pick. Letting go of me, reaching as I fall. At number 4 is End of Silence, and this is Red's debut album released back in 2006. I have a lot of really good memories with this record actually. Red combined kind of like Linkin Park and Evanescence guitar riffs, climactic lyrics, and of course the thing we all know Red for, the unique experimentation with violins and piano. And the result is a symphonic hard rock masterpiece. And I think this is one of the best debut rock albums of all time, honestly. It's amazing how defined Red's sound is on this album, considering it's a debut album. I mean, even Breaking Benjamin didn't find their core sound until Phobia. But to some extent, Red has kind of kept a lot of the ideas on End of Silence, which I applaud them for, honestly. It's like they knew exactly what they wanted to do and they did it. The lyrical content, I guess, is more angsty on this album than most of their later albums, and Michael sounds really, really young here, and his tone in his voice is just brighter and lighter, and it really does sound drastically different from all the other Red albums. Even though I love all that about this album, I just think they gained a new maturity with Innocence and Instinct and beyond. And the fight's made, the fight inside is coursing through my veins. At number 3 is Innocence and Instinct, and this is their second release, and it's notably where Red truly found their core sound and what they wanted to do with their sound. This is generally the best received and highest praised album out of their discography, and there is a reason for that. Unfortunately, I don't really have the same memories with this record as I have with like End of Silence and Until We Have Faces, but I still recognize the slight improvement from End of Silence and why everyone loves this album. And honestly, Michael's voice matured significantly in the 3-year gap between End of Silence and Innocence and Instinct. It seems that his lower register improved a lot, and he has a very full, kind of dark sound to his tone compared to End of Silence, and it fits. Red just went heavier and darker and just pushed the envelope further in every way possible. This is the opposite of a sophomore slump, and a lot of their best work is found on here, like Fight Inside, Death with Me, Take It All Away, Confession, you know, I mean the list goes on. And I mean, the only negatives I can really find with Innocence and Instinct is some of the guitar work kind of blends together on certain songs. I really love how they took the sound from End of Silence and just kind of expanded it, you know? At number 2 is Until We Have Faces, and this is definitely the album in their discography that is the most underrated, I'd say. This album, in my book, is where Red really matured lyrically and musically even further than Innocence and Instinct. Even though Jason Rauch left, Joe, Michael, Anthony, and Randy carried on with a slight shift in sound and an amazing album with great ideas. This was not Innocence and Instinct Part 2 in any way possible. It was the start of a new thing with more orchestration than before, just a lot more melodic guitar work, and very, very catchy choruses. In my opinion, it has the best Red ballad of all time on here, Hymn for the Missing. I really do like the variety on this album. I have the most memories with this album too because it's really what got me into Red. At number 1, my favorite Red album of all time is Of Beauty and Rage. And this incredible album takes the idea that Innocence and Instinct had by like pushing the boundary, more orchestration, darker, heavier moments, and just adds even more to it and makes the musicality on this record just the most anthemic, mature, larger-than-life music the band has ever produced. And Michael sings to his very extremes on this album, exploring his falsetto register at the end of Shadow and Soul, and his way lower notes on the verse of What You Keep Alive. Even though Joe Rickard, their drummer, left the band, Red still created their best, most creative work to date. They focused on creating a dark atmosphere, and they accomplished that the most, probably. The lyrics here are some of the most heartfelt material Red has ever put out. And Rob Graves really focused on creating the classic Red sound with success here. And there's no way we would have gotten a project like this out of Red if Howard Benson had produced for them again. And that's why I consider it like a miracle, and I'm very grateful that Rob came to produce for Red again, because, I mean, this is a masterpiece. Like, I couldn't be happier with Of Beauty and Rage. It's near flawless in my mind. It's amazing to me how Red can go from making Release the Panic and then create this amazing masterpiece within the span of only 2 years. I know that this album does get a ton of praise, but you know what? It deserves it. And so I want to hear what you thought. I want to hear your album rankings of the Red discography in the comments if you can. This band has such a great discography overall. I mean, Release the Panic was their kind of meh album, but you know what? I mean, that was just them kind of like trying something different, you know? And you know what? It just didn't work, you know? So they found Of Beauty and Rage, and then with Gone they tried something a little bit different, but they didn't go too far in one direction to where it would make it, you know, not sound like Red. Red's a fantastic band, and I love pretty much most of their albums. Thank you for watching, guys. See you in the next video.